platforms of the respective projects. Second, as a facilitator, I have muted all the participants to optimize the quality of the sound. And this means that we propose you type your questions that you might have in the chat box. So normally on your screen, you can see a chat box and you can type your questions there. And then as a facilitator, I will at the end of Anna's presentation, ask the questions that you have typed there so that Anna can respond to your questions. Also, if we are not too many, we can use the audio facility and I can then unmute you and you can ask your questions yourself to Anna. And for that purpose, you can use the raise your hand function, and that function you can find in the box with the participants. In the participant lists, you can find your own name, and next to your name, you have the option to click on raise your hand. I can see that as the facilitator and I can then give you the floor, unmute you, and you can ask your question to Anna. That's it for the practicalities. So I will now introduce Anna to you. Anna Belén Amil is currently working as the Gender Equality Officer at Central European University in Budapest for the EU-funded project SUPERA. SUPERA is a sister project of our projects, and SUPERA stands for Supporting the Promotion of Equality in Research and Academia, and it will last until December 2021. So it has a year of advancement on our projects. Anna Belén Amil holds an Erasmus Mundus master's degree in Women's and Gender Studies and 2 postgraduate degrees in clinical psychology from the University of Buenos Aires. Anna, thank you for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes, excellent. Thank you everybody for attending this webinar. I wanted to share with you our experience at Central European University on how we communicated the results of our assessment in the SUPERA project. But first I wanted to introduce you a little bit to Central European University because it has some special features that had an impact and shaped the way we did our assessment and the way that we communicated results. The first of these special features is that CEU is a quite small private university that is mainly focused on social sciences and humanities. And it has a quite progressive profile and self-image. We only, for the moment in Budapest, we are only holding postgraduate studies degrees, such as MAs and PhDs. So this means that most of the students rotate quite quickly. Basically, most of them are at CEU only for 1 year or 2-year MAs, and only a minority in longer PhD studies. Sorry. Here, sorry. We also have a strong rectoral support to gender equality, at least in principle, and this coincides with this progressive profile and image of the university. And for the last 2 years, we've been facing a highly aversive political atmosphere. You might have heard about the problems at CEU. CEU has been under political attack from the government, up to the point that our American accreditation has been revoked, and we are currently in the process to move into Austria. Gender studies more generally and gender equality has been under attack by the government, and gender studies also has been banned in the country. This means that there are no official programs with official accreditations on gender studies in Hungary. And for that reason, we are lacking external allies, partners, and audience at the local level to present our results. So we are not in dialogue with any bodies or audiences outside the university. How we prepare for the task. So how we prepare for the task of presenting our results. We had several previous meetings with the rector to basically ensure leadership support. And the rector and the core team of SUPERA had come to an agreement that we would not publicize the results of the assessment until he was able to read the final version of the report. So we agreed upon that. We got feedback from the pro-rector in humanities and social sciences. On the first draft of our report, it was quite a harsh feedback, so it was really useful to make changes in our draft. And then we obtained feedback from selected and trusted members of the Equal Opportunity Committee. This committee is appointed by the Senate and has a function of a watchdog in our institution about equal opportunity related issues. And of course, since the rector had asked us previously not to share the report before he could read it, we had a confidentiality request with these members. So we obtained also feedback from them about our first draft. How we continued. So then what we did was a mapping of all the relevant fora in which we wanted to present the results. Of course, first and foremost, we had to have a private meeting with the rector, basically because of this agreement that we had. And when he gave us a green light, we decided to present the results in different fora, beginning firstly with the ones that were going to be less challenging, in the sense that they were allies to the cause, and then to continue to those fora in which more resistances were expected. The first fora in which we presented the results was our Gender Equality Hub. For those of you who are not working with gender equality hubs in their institutions, I can briefly explain what this means. The hub is basically a permanent team at Central European University that meets regularly and engages all relevant stakeholders at all levels of the institution. So we have people from faculty, staff members, and students. They were involved in the hub in a voluntary basis, and they give the core team, they give us support for the actions related to gender equality. They are devoted to identify problems, resistances, and to monitor day-to-day implementation of the gender equality plan. So we did our first presentation in the hub. Then we continued to the Equal Opportunity Committee. These two bodies are strong allies for gender equality at the institution. And then we progressed to present the results in the Academic Forum and the Senate. These are the ones where we expected the most resistances. The Academic Forum is an open forum where everybody at the university can attend, but some members are there in a mandatory fashion, such as heads of departments and heads of administrative units, together with the rector, the provost, and the two prorectors. And the Senate is the one and only decision-making body at the university. After these 5 presentations, we did some more. One of those to the history department, that this was on request. They basically wanted us to present for the department, and we shaped the presentation a little bit according to the profile of the department. We also presented the results in our research unit, which is the Center for Policy Studies. At the Dean of Students' office, this presentation was done by a member of our hub, and at the Student Union, also by a member of our hub that also happens to be a PhD student, sorry. how we adapted the message to the different audiences. All the adaptations that we have done were mostly related to time constraints. For example, at the academic forum and the Senate, we only had 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for questions. This proved to be quite disadvantageous because these are the fora where we expected the most resistances, and paradoxically, the one we had less time to engage in an in-depth discussion and to explain ourselves better. And for the Gender Equality Hub and the Equal Opportunity Committee, we had 45 minutes and time for discussion. So the friendlier audiences were the ones where we had the most time to present and to discuss. For the presentation, we highlighted the most important problems that we had found during our assessment, in line with the priorities of the community. This means that many problems that came up during our assessment had been already identified in our institution in previous years by different mechanisms. So we try to focus on those results that mostly resonated with the current problems that the institution resonates with. During our presentation, we included a slide on recommendations to show a proactive attitude and also to counterbalance the critical tone of the gender equality assessment. And the shorter the time we had for the presentation, the more graphic the presentation was. So we made sure to show most of our results, at least the ones that were quantitative in nature, to have pie charts and graphs, so we could make a visual impact. So results and the lessons we learned. So what we take out of this experience, and we think that might be of use for other partners. Overall, the report was received with great enthusiasm. I think that this is also related to the profile of the institution. But of course, we faced many resistances. I can share those with you too. One of these resistances was to the reported low levels of gender components in some departmental curricula. So one of our indicators during the assessment was to check in percentages how much of the curricula of each program included some gender component. And some of the departments were extremely low, taking into account that our university mostly teaches social sciences and humanities. One would have expected a stronger gender component, and this was this is the topic that faced the most resistances. Mainly, the arguments were about academic freedom. Faculty felt reluctant to this measurement because they considered that having any guidelines or policies on this topic would curtail their academic freedom to choose basically what to teach. And also some understandings of curriculum as a neutral tool for knowledge transfer. So some faculty, especially coming from philosophy, for example, or even political science, do not consider the political aspects of the curricula, and they would insist that this was only about objective knowledge transfer. Another thing that brought some resistance, not a lot, but some, was the gender pay gap. We found an extremely high gender pay gap in our university. basically due to the fact that our university is highly segregated along gender lines. Most faculty are male, and most administrative staff are women. The salaries are, of course, very different in these two constituencies, and this creates a high gender pay gap, even higher than the national context. And some of the faculty members blame this gender pay gap to the national labor market, and they were not able to acknowledge the fact that the institution had to do with the problem and also have tools to improve this difficulty. Another topic that brought resistances was the gender imbalance in faculty. We have approximately 65, 70% male faculty and 30% female faculty. And of course, some resistances related to this indicator were related to the meritocracy argument, in which faculty would insist that this imbalance had nothing to do with gender bias or discrimination, but basically the processes are entirely meritocratic, and also blaming the regional labor market. So basically that more male faculty are available than female faculty. One of the big problems that we have found is that different departments conduct highly specified searches for new openings that only lead to potential male candidates. Some recommendations that I could present to you. First of all, I would advise you to prepare and to rehearse sharp arguments to address resistances. So try to use the knowledge that you have of your institution to anticipate what kinds of resistances might appear, and rehearse consistent arguments beforehand, arguments that are very to the point and quick. So maybe in 20, 30 seconds, you can deliver the message that you want to deliver, and the audience doesn't look at you doesn't see you hesitating when you reply to the resistances. Secure as much leadership support as possible in advance. Involve leadership in the hub if you have a gender equality hub. Ask for feedback during the process of writing the report, so these people feel that they already made their criticisms and their criticisms were heard and taken into account. And try to share preliminary results. So the idea is that when you do the presentation, it's not the first time that people hear what you're going to say, or at least parts of what you're going to say, and they are not fully taken by surprise. I would also advise to include allies in the fora where you will present the results. So you won't be alone in a fora where people start raising resistances, but you also have the voices of allies and supporters that can help you build an argument. Generally, when you present results in a fora, there's this social effect in which people start feeding each other with criticisms. So it's good to have allies to counterbalance that effect. Try to choose your battles when you make the presentation. Don't overwhelm people with all the problems that you have found, but rather select priorities on the things that you would like to present, either because they are things that on which the community already has a consensus about, or you already have solutions that could be implemented in mind. Try as much as possible to avoid pointing fingers to to units or to departments and strong criticism. Try to show possible solutions and a proactive attitude. This is why I would recommend you to include recommendations during your presentation. And try your best, if possible, not to change the team that does the presentation, especially if you're going to make several presentations. There's something that comes with practice that really fine-tunes your presentation, and you will feel more and more comfortable with the way you deliver your results. You can learn from previous presentations and make the necessary changes. But if the people that make the presentation are constantly rotating, you will lose that learning and that experience. Well, this is basically all that I had to share with you. If you have questions or comments, they are all welcome. And thank you for listening.